And I guess on that note, we will shift over to my favorite goaltender in the league. He's, oh, God, every time his name gets brought up, it's always something. It's always just such a joy to talk about. Mr. AHL himself, Jordan Binnington. I said it before. I'll say it again. He's all Jordan Binnington is a piss baby who gets paid $6 million a year to just be a bad goalie. Like, he's mediocre. I don't even know if he'd cut it in the AHL right now. Like, that's how bad he's been this year, last year, and I think the year before. His numbers haven't been numbers haven't been hot since he went on an incredible run, leading St. Louis to their first ever Stanley Cup. Like, can you guys even debate something like that? Like, he honestly hasn't been good. The fact he's making $35 million from the St. Louis Blues is like money laundering. Like somebody should arrest that guy for tax fraud.
It's not even the performance that's like confusing. It's the antics. Like,
that's probably it's never for goalie reasons. We're never talking about guys. Look at Binner and just like absolutely suck. Well, he does suck in net, but it's not like some egregious random thing. It's never about goaltending. It's always about him getting outside of the crease and doing some random crap. Dave, what was the random crap he did this time?
Okay, so the game was against this was the Blues and the Wild. The Blues were up, I think, like 3-1 at one point, or 4-1. They were up by a couple goals, and Minnesota, loaded with some firepower. Maybe not as much as in years past, but they've still got some good players there. They came roaring back and they scored
these days.
Definitely a lot more. Well, maybe not, because Jacob Vrana is having himself a pretty good recent run, but that's a different story. So I believe they scored 5 unanswered on him, and the go-ahead goal was a Ryan Hartman power play goal. And as Ryan Hartman is wheeling away in celebration, you can't even blame Ryan Hartman for it, because he's in front of the net. Binner's just on the edge of his crease, and he kind of clips him barely, and Binnington just loses it. I'm like, it's like, dude, what are you doing? And in this kerfuffle, Jordan Binnington goes in with his blocker, and he goes to just give him overhand, I don't even know. Like, this guy thought he was in MMA or something.
Superman punch. But with a goddamn
WWE.
blocker. I have to say,
straight out of WWE.
We had when was the Oscars? Was it like 2 weeks ago or last week? Anyways, Oscars
might have been that. It might have been around that time of the game. So.
Yeah. So listen, we had the Oscars recently, and I'm sure there was some category for like cinematography. Like this person's the best cinematographer. They're really good with the camera work, just the framing of the picture and the scene. Shout out to whoever ran the broadcast for that game, because Hartman scores. There's the slow zoom in on him as he, like Dave said, he clips the pad. You get the little bundle of Minnesota Wild players hugging it out after the goal, and it just all you see is Binnington's blocker hand, and it's like you don't see him crawl into the frame. You just see the hand, and you see Hartman's face. It was.
Dude,
that
whole scene
of the year right there, okay?
That whole scene, that entire scene was something straight out of WWE. Like, Vince McMahon himself couldn't have scripted that any better. And it's not even just that, because you brought up that point, and it was like, it looked like when the good guys are off celebrating, and then the heel just comes in and he goes to attack. But then we had the surprise guest, Royal Rumble entrant. I don't know what Stone Cold Steve would be, but when Stone Cold Steve Austin's glass breaking theme song comes on, and that's all you hear, and the crowd goes wild. You know what's coming, because Flower himself is skating down. Marc-Andre Fleury, for anybody who didn't get that I don't know, that nickname, whatever. He comes skating from his own net, and he's trying to square up with Jordan Binnington.
He wants the smoke.
Unfortunately, we didn't get the potentially greatest outcome to this scenario in a goalie fight between Jordan Binnington and Marc-Andre Fleury, which I think, no doubt in my mind, Marc-Andre Fleury would have wiped the floor with him like a mop, like a Swiffer wet jet. He would have wiped him up. Like, do you understand how angry you have to make Marc-Andre? Like, how do you get Marc-Andre Fleury that mad that he wants to fight you straight up? Like, he's genuinely, by all accounts, one of the nicest people in the league. We could see, years past, he's pulled like pranks on his teammates, and everybody's like, "Oh, Flower, what a funny guy Flower is." How do you get him that mad? Like, you have to be doing something astronomically douchey in order to get Marc-Andre Fleury that mad that he wants to beat you up.
I'll tell you what, though, he is the one. Well, he is like one of those guys in the league that would set Marc-Andre Fleury off. Also, do you guys think that Binnington's picked up the notoriety around the league, kind of like Avery did or Marchand had yet?
Oh yeah, 100%. There's no one who's coming to his defense. There's no player around the league that's going to say, "I actually agree with Binnington." Yeah, exactly. His own coach is saying, "Dude, just play goalie. You're a goaltender. Please do that." I don't know if you guys saw. I just saw this now, and I haven't watched the clip, but I have some of the quotes from it. Did you guys see Fleury mic'd up during that moment? You guys,
yes.
Yeah. And he was like, "It'll be fun. It'll be good." Like, oh my god,
the ref shut it down. Like 100%.
Yeah, well, I know that they have to because I believe the rule is as soon as a helmet comes off, they have to intervene. So let's say they were to get into the fight, both goalies would have had their helmets on. Let's hypothetically, they could have allowed it to continue, but I believe because I think Fleury had his off as soon as he was coming down, they had to put a stop to it immediately. Which, fair enough. I'm
not too sure on the rule for that, but I'm not gonna lie. As a neutral, I kind of wanted to see a goalie fight on my highlight reel. That would have been enjoyable. But
dude, 100%. Even if you're a Blues fan, if you're a Wild fan, 100%. I'm now curious. Like, is there a goalie in your guys' mind that is gonna step up to the plate like Fleury did and try this again? Like, try to get the fight with Binner? Like, is there a guy that comes to mind, or is really any goalie? It could be someone to do it. Like, I'm thinking, like, Leaf-wise, Murray would not do that at all. Sammy, I don't know. You'd have to get Samsonov like pretty mad. I don't really think he'd be that type of guy either.
Markstrom.
I don't know who would be. Markstrom, yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a good one. Apparently, Jeff Merrick always says this when I listen to him on his podcast. He always says the goalie he thinks is Kochetkov. But like I haven't seen Kochetkov do like crazy stuff, but he had a goalie fight in the minors and he had a goal like in the same week. And this is like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe. So he's convinced that that's going to be the guy to go one-on-one with Binner. I'm just trying to think of like some actual.
Are there any
guys? I don't know.
Like, okay, goalies themselves are known to be a wild bunch of people. Like, they're weirdos. Yeah. Like, let's not sugarcoat it here. Is there anybody as hot-headed and weird as Jordan Binnington? I don't think so. Like, okay, I guess in this example right now, like, you have a goalie who's not that hot-headed and probably not as weird, who lost it because, he saw his boys were in trouble and he needed to step in. Maybe that's gonna be what it takes to see something like this again. But off the top of my head, I can't think of any goalie in the league that might even want to attempt something like that. Maybe somebody's trying to make their name.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Which Kochetkov you could throw in that category. My cursory look gets me maybe two names that I could maybe convince myself, other than Markstrom. Where is it now? I lost him. Okay. I feel like Hellebuck's got a decent temper. But he's a really good goalie, and I don't know if he'd be the type of guy where he's like, I can't fight because I'd be putting my team at a disadvantage because I'm an actually good goaltender, unlike Binnington. But he's a guy who I could see do it. And then the other name, I don't really know if he'd do it, but Quick. I feel like Quick could get riled up.
It's one of the one things I don't think Quick has achieved or done in his career.
Interesting. Right? Yeah, throw that on the resume, man. Throw it on the resume. I don't know if we got any more Vegas versus Blues games, but I just thought that was funny to take a look at. I don't really have too much to add to the Binnington stuff. He's a beast of his own. We'll see when the next time he does some crazy stuff, so we can talk about it again.
So You got
Sorry,
anything
the
else?
last thing
Yep.
the last thing I want to say is all I know is that if Jordan Binnington was above 900, even if he was a 905 this year, like
You got a lot more leeway.
the St. Louis Blues would be in a playoff position right now. They might not have even had to have traded guys like Tarasenko, O'Reilly, Achari, Barbashev if their goaltender played goal.
It's crazy.
tended the
It's
net.
crazy to think, man. Like, go back to the beginning of the season, and no one was saying, or at least not the majority of people were saying the Blues would miss the playoffs. Like these guys,
Well,
O'Reilly,
because
Tarasenko, all these guys weren't on the trade board
we
to start
had
the season because that seemed like not
yeah,
possible.
we had 50 games of proof
Yeah,
last season that the St. Louis Blues were one of the hottest teams in the league. Maybe they were too hot for their own good. Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas, Ivan Barbashev.
I'll never forget, man. They had 9 goal scorers. 9. Their
Yeah,
whole top 9, every single one of them had at least 20 goals. Like, imagine
yeah,
that in the Leafs. Imagine if every single player in the top 9 had 20 goals. You couldn't imagine it.
no,
That's an
100%.
incredibly deep offense. Yeah.
So we had like a burden of proof last year saying that, maybe we should start taking the Blues a bit more serious once again. Then they locked up Robert Thomas and Kyrou to long extensions. We're like, wow, those things are going to age like a fine wine because they could only get better from here. Granted, those guys haven't been offensively, they've struggled a little bit this year, right?
Heating
But
up a little bit. I think Kyrie, what did he have? A Hattie recently, I
yeah,
think.
at the
But
beginning
besides
of
the
the
point.
year, though, I know Kyrou was off to a really bad start, and
And
a lot
hey,
of the
we talked about the coach calling out Binnington. The coach called Thomas and Kyrie out not too
not
too
too
long
long
ago
ago
as
too.
well.
Well, yeah, he's been calling out the whole team all year, right? But how nice would it have been for them who have been struggling offensively this year to at least get a little bit of support from their last line of defense, the guy that the franchise is investing $35 million, I believe, over the next 5 years after this one. Like, come on, dude. Like, help yourself to help the team out. That's all they're asking for here. I don't think that's too much to ask for.
And hopefully the Blues get that situation sorted out. I think we're all in the same opinion of this. Shout out to Dave because he's the one who called it in the first episode of this season.
Yeah, it was pretty early.
I will give you that. I will give you that.